Good morning. My name is Megan Edwards of Focus Communications, and today we're getting the latest updates from Kuya Silver, which trades on the Canadian Stock Exchange under the symbol KUYA. Joining me once again is Kuya's President and CEO, David Stein. David, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, David, to start things off, can you please provide our viewers with an overview of Kuya Silver and your portfolio of high-grade silver projects?
Sure. We principally have two projects, two high-grade silver projects, as you mentioned, and we kind of see ourselves as high-grade mining specialists. We like those types of projects because, with the very valuable rock that you have in these high-grade and in most cases underground mines, you are able to mine with a very small environmental footprint. It's a lot more or a lot less controversial of projects when it comes to permitting, when it comes to communities and other stakeholders. So it's really a great model. The vast majority of our peers in the industry, try and develop these huge projects, which require huge amounts of capital. And raising capital can be very risky. It can be very dilutive. The projects that Kuya has do not require very much capital. And so we're able to thread the needle and make a lot of money, ultimately mining these projects, but without having to put as much capital and risk at risk in the early stages. So I think it's a winning combination, especially for a newer company like us, and that's really where we are. We have the mine that just started production, Bethania, which is a restart, and then we have the Silver Kings project, which is a past producing world-class silver camp in Northern Ontario.
Now, it's been a busy few months for the company. So today I'd like to recap your latest project developments and what investors can expect from Kuya for the remainder of 2024. Starting with the Bethania project in Peru, could you walk us through early production on the project and perhaps what the next year looks like as you ramp up production?
Sure. So as listeners may or may not be aware, we announced the startup of production several weeks ago. And, obviously that was a huge milestone for us. The next 6 to 12 months, the next 12 months we'll be ramping up. In particular, the first 6 months, there's a lot of work happening at site. In addition to mine development, we're also continuing to recondition the existing adits, which we had 6 kilometers of horizontal workings, that were there before we got back in and restarted the mine. We're not going to use all 6 kilometers of that, but we're going to use quite a bit of it. And then ultimately we'll be doing new development as well, of course, as we go to new areas in the mine. So there's a lot going on, not just production, but these other jobs as well. They take people, they take resources. But as we go through the year here, the next 12 months, for example, we'll finish the reconditioning in the next few months. Then we can allocate those people to producing ore, and stuff like that will happen. And that's part of the way that we ramp up production. The other thing that will happen is between now and the end of the year, we're looking to get to about 100 tons per day as sort of an initial goal. And why that's important for us is because that basically gets us back to where the mine was producing when it closed 8 years ago. So essentially that will sort of put us again back where this mine was before, using the exact same infrastructure and the mining methods, and then overlay that starting in let's say January or early Q1, we'll start adding more mechanized equipment underground. We'll start sort of swapping out mechanized for manual production in certain stopes, especially where the veins are thicker, and that will allow us to push the production up to 350 tons per day by the middle of next year.
We're just looking at the all-in cost from your PEA. There's no question the company will be generating significant cash flow from Bethania. Does the company have a plan in place for this future cash inflow?
Yeah, look, again, with our forecast, we should be starting to make some serious money, towards the end of this year, and especially into next year, first quarter, second quarter, and then we'll sort of reach a plateau by the third quarter of next year, where we should be, generating some pretty significant cash flow. When I speak to investors in person, one of the most common questions I get asked nowadays is, what are you going to do with all that money? And we really have two great uses of capital, to invest that money back into Peru, back into the Bethania project. The first is which we think is going to generate huge upside for shareholders. That's why we're really excited to do that. And the first of which is exploration. We've never really done much exploration on the property in the way of drilling. We've done a lot of work to generate targets and do sampling at surface and basically find all of our drill targets, or find several drill targets. But we haven't really done much drilling in the last few years. Once we start building up, a bit of cash flow, we can, let's say, put aside $200,000 or $300,000 a month to go and get one or two drills on site and just start drilling. And I think once we start doing that, the drills will never stop turning. We have so many targets, both within the mine itself and then our satellite targets, and new targets yet to be found in this district. I think we'll keep those drills turning for many, many years, with huge upside potential in the resources. So that is going to be a big use of proceeds. But the nice thing is, we don't need all that money at once. Again, we can just set aside a few $100,000 a month. We can get the job done. And, we may end up, looking back at the end of 2026 and say, oh, we put 20 million into exploration, but it will be a little by little each month. Now, the other use of proceeds that we're going to use our cash for is to build our own plant. So as we've discussed before, we're going to start by toll milling. It's still very low cost for us to do that. However, we do want to migrate our production back to site. It will reduce our costs a little bit. We think we'll get better recoveries as well, even though our recoveries we expect are going to be very good. They could be even better if our equipment is essentially customized to our ore. And then from there, why that's important is having that initial plant, which, by the way, the initial 350 ton per day plant is fully permitted. But by having that plant there, built, operating, that will allow us then to expand. So by that point in time, we should have done enough exploration that we can decide internally, okay, do we have enough resources that we want to double production? Do we want to triple production? I honestly think that's the kind of discussion we'll be having in, another year, 18 months from now. And in order to get there, though, we got to have we want to be building our own plant. So two amazing uses of proceeds that we have in Peru, that will really leverage up the value of the company going forward, as we can do that, as we can do both of those growth projects.
Now, a few months ago, the company also announced the discovery of the Tito PH Target, located just south of your Bethania mine area. Can you walk us through this target for the company?
Yeah, sure. I mean, stepping back, we 2022, probably in 23, we had focused a bit on Carmelitas, which is a great group of properties off to the west here. We have two different zones, both centered around some artisanal mining that, if you stack them together, along strike, they would be, equal, if not slightly larger than the footprint of the Bethania mine, including the Hilltop zone, where we still have not drilled any resources. So, massive potential here at Carmelitas, but we continue to explore this big district that we have. We went to this other target, which we knew from old reports, called Tito PH, and we did a program there earlier in the year, and frankly, it just exceeded our expectations. You can see here we we're able to sample this vein that's exposed at surface. It looks like, 30 or 40 years ago, some small miners went and blasted the vein at surface to kind of recover some very, kind of quick, easy mining ore. But no recent production here. However, you can see in many cases the vein at surface because of that old work. And we're sampling that and very consistently getting high grades. In fact, about a third of our samples here were over 1,000 grams per ton equivalent, and several over 2,000. This main structure here that we started mapping and sampling is over 600 meters long, which is longer than the entire strike length of the Bethania resource today, our 14 million ounce equivalent resource that we have at Bethania in inferred plus indicated. There's more strike length here than we have at Bethania. Now, and then you've got other structures that we found at surface. We didn't do any digging, we didn't do any trenching. We just sampled what we could see at surface here. And, you can see the results on this map. Lots of red. The red means high grade. That's good. And lots of size as well. I mean, if you go from the left-hand group of samples all the way to the right-hand group of samples here, you're looking at well over a kilometer on, at least 3 different mineralized structures. So this is looking like a really, really exciting target, and frankly has risen up our own internal rankings. I think after the Bethania mine itself, which obviously is the lowest of the low-hanging fruit because we already have tunnels there, we already have development there. That's an obvious place we need to, drill in and make that a lot bigger. But next in line would be Tito, just because of all the reasons I just mentioned: the size, the strike length of these veins, the grades that we're getting consistently at surface, just seem to be a cut above any other target that we have in the district right now.
Now, fast forward to last month, where Kuya announced your next phase exploration program at the Silver Kings project in Ontario. Can you give us an overview of this program and perhaps recap some of the targets the company will be drill testing in the upcoming campaign?
Yeah, obviously we're very excited to have a fully funded drill program at the Silver Kings project ready to go. And what that's going to do is, as we're developing Bethania and announcing, positive production milestones over the next 6 and 12 months, we're going to be making announcements at the Silver Kings project as we do that, roll out that exploration program and start drilling and getting results back. So we really are able to, put out news on 2 fronts, on 2 different projects at the same time, which, should generate a lot of positive momentum and a lot of buzz around the company and the stock. So we're very fortunate to be in that position. Now, specifically, we have some tremendous opportunities here with these next drill campaigns that we again have fully funded. We definitely want to go back to the Angus Vein discovery and the Campbell Crawford property, where we made the discovery in 2023, probably under 200 meters of essentially buried unmineralized rock. So it was a blind target, but we hit the one of the best silver discovery drill holes in the last several years, with 15,000 grams over 3.3 meters, and followed that up with several other really exciting, really good high grade holes. So we have a zone there, and I think with our second program that we did in the fall, we really got to understand more of the structures, and there's actually multiple mineralized structures there, all in a small area, so which is very typical of the cobalt mining camp. And so this next program will allow us to go in and start, I think, hitting some of the higher grade shoots within that, bigger vein system. We also, discovered one hole, new vein system off to the west, and we need to drill that. So that's another really important target. That's on the Ergiad property. So the Clark vein and the Moran vein, the 2 that we'd be targeting right now, although I expect, much like with Campbell Crawford, once we get down into the target horizon, there's going to be more veins that we discover as well. So So that's the next target, and then finally down in the south, the third target that we will be drilling is the Frontier Northwest area. So this is in the Silver Center camp, which is another sort of sub camp within the bigger cobalt mining district. And here we've got mineralization that is actually coming right to surface, where we're sampling multi% cobalt right at surface, which indicates that we could be very close to the silver zone here. So we think previous drilling was drilling too deep. They were drilling for a big disseminated discovery, which is just simply not consistent with the geology here. So it was definitely a miss. But we think with our new understanding of the mineralization, the high grade mineralization, we can go there and get it right. So we have at least 3 different separate deposits that we are going to be drilling. We've got the 4th one, which is North Drummond. We probably won't be drilling it now, but it is there. There's some fantastic historical drilling. The challenge with that one is that we have to drill that from a barge, so it's more expensive. So ultimately here we could have 3, 4, maybe more separate mines here, and that's really the goal. Would be a kind of a hub and spoke system where all these mines, these high grade cobalt silver mines are feeding a centralized mill, and much like what we do in Bethania. So there's a lot of similarities, at least from a mining and a business strategy point of view, to the cobalt mining camp, the Silver Kings project, and what we're doing at Bethania, even though geologically they're night and day, very, very different.
And to finish things off, David, could you quickly highlight what investors can look forward to from Kuya over the next 12 months?
A lot of news, just to put it simply. Obviously, as we transition at Bethania from development into not just production but cash flow, I think that's a major milestone that is still not realized by the market here. I think if you look at companies that are silver producers that do make money, they're worth hundreds of millions of dollars more than what we're worth today. And we'll be right up there with them in terms of our cash flow potential, in terms of our growth potential with Bethania. So there's huge upside there. A lot of work to do on our end, obviously, to get that mine up and running, but the upside is there, and certainly that's why I'm invested in the company myself. The other thing is we're going to have a lot of news out of Silver Kings, and Silver Kings is it's an amazing project because we've really again, much like Bethania, we've got a geological model. We've got a repeatable model now that we can go in different areas of the property, drill, and have a higher likelihood of success. Exploration is never 100% successful, but we definitely know what we're doing there, and we've proven it now with a couple of different discoveries, much like what we've done with Peru, where we're finding veins that stick up right at surface and then extend for hundreds of meters at depth. So we've got two great projects there, that both of which can be huge, both in terms of the ounces, in terms of the production potential, and really great building blocks for a mid-tier silver miner in a few years.
All right. Thanks again, David, for your time today. We will be watching closely, and I look forward to having you back on with additional updates very soon.
That would be my pleasure. Thank you very much.